Yo, how's it going? Um, Happy to make a video again. It's been kind of a while. Things are going pretty good. Me and my girlfriend are doing pretty good. And we've been thinking about marriage, which is really, really cool and exciting. Still, that's not something that you take lightly, so I'm definitely giving it thought. Trying to give it all the thought, you know. But anyway, there's a chance that that could happen in the near future. And yeah, it's exciting. So yeah, I just want to kind of talk and like share some things, I guess, kind of like an update or whatever. I don't know though, because I kind of feel like when I make these videos, I need to have something important to say. Like I get like the vlogging and everything, and that's fine. Like I've vlogged for a while, I've done that for a while, and that's fine. But also, I don't want to rob you. I don't want to make a boring video. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'll just get into some stuff. I'll try to keep it interesting. So basically, lately, you know, you may or may not know, but I've been a big Trump supporter for like since he came around. And when he first came into politics, I wasn't for him, and I was actually voting for Bernie Sanders. And then eventually I switched sides and kind of came back to the Republican side and started loving Trump, you know, and becoming more politically active. Starting pretty much like in 2019-ish, 2020-ish. And yeah, about 2020 actually. Anyway, things got really intense for me. I got really, really in there. Like, I went to a bunch of Trump rallies, and I was at a certain event that I could mention it, but anyway, it rhymes with January Picks. And anyway, I was there. But yeah, it was cool. But what am I getting to? I'm getting to the point where so I'm dating, my girlfriend doesn't like Trump. She's more left-leaning than me, by far, which is fine. And so, but we get along. But so I've kind of not been following politics since he won, really. I mean, I used to watch a lot of YouTube channels like Benny Johnson, conservative YouTube channels, Benny Johnson, etc., Steve Turley. And I just haven't been anymore. Well, anyway, somehow, Nick Fuentes came up on my radar recently. And yes, I love Nick Fuentes. But when he came up on my radar, I didn't know. Like, I never listened to him. I'd only heard some things. And I thought he was just like, I honestly thought he was kind of like a ridiculous poser at first. And this was with me not knowing anything about him. Like, I didn't know anything about him. But from what I had heard and imagined, like, I heard that he was against Trump. So I was like, who is this dude? I bet he's probably a poser. I bet he's a feminine-leaning dude who doesn't like Trump. And he's just trying to be all whatever. Because, like, I don't really know a lot about Tim Pool. But I've seen him a couple times. And one of my brothers really likes him, at least. And I haven't really listened to Tim Pool, but I've seen enough of him. I mean, I haven't seen enough of him, really, but from what I have seen has led me to be like, yeah, no, I don't think so. No, not for me. No, not really with it. But anyway, so I started checking out Nick Fuentes, right? And I've listened to Alex Jones for a while. I've liked Alex Jones. I don't listen to him anymore intentionally, you know what I mean? Like, if he pops up in a feed or something, I might listen to him, but I'm not like going out of my way to listen to him. But yeah, I started listening to like Nick Fuentes. And a lot of people, when you hear that name, I guess there's a lot of associations around that name because there's been a lot of smear tactics against him for a while. He's called a white supremacist, he's called a woman hater, he's called a Jew hater, he's called a lot of things that aren't true. And does he have controversial opinions? His opinions are His opinions can definitely be controversial. Would I say they are controversial? Kind of. But at the same time, I'm not like worried. Anyway, so I've been listening to Nick Fuentes a lot lately. And I really like him. Just like anyone else, I don't agree with him about everything. But for the most part, I do agree with him with a lot. He's a Catholic, and I'm not a Catholic, and I don't believe that Catholicism is the way. But obviously, he can choose that. And I can see the argument you can make between Catholicism being the closest thing to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as far as truth goes, because they actually claim that they are the one true church, and that actually means that that viewpoint believes that there is actually a one true church. Anyway, but yeah, no, I really like Nick Fuentes, and I've really been enjoying watching him. And yes, he does swear, and I don't like that part. And yeah, he says some really crazy stuff, or he could say some really like unhinged stuff from time to time. And sometimes I'm just laughing so hard, and anyway. Long story short, I like Nick Fuentes, and also, I doubt I will get banned for saying this because my channel is so small, but it's actually real, and I've kind of learned about it a little bit. Nick Fuentes has been through the ringer. He said a lot of things that people get in trouble for saying. And he's faced a lot of backlash. He's had his bank accounts frozen. He's been no-fly listed. He's been persecuted by the government, basically, for various reasons. But the biggest thing I'd say he's done and is doing is he is exposing the Jewish regime, the Jewish control scheme regime. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that there is a huge regime from Israel. Coalition is what it's called. A lot of people call it a coalition between the United States and Israel. But I'm not going to call it a coalition. I'm going to call it a blackmailing. And this is where a really big disconnect happens between these truths I'm about to share are a big disconnect between the boomer generation, the Gen Xers, I guess, and my like my father's age people. So like people in their 50s and 60s and up. They don't like this idea, especially the conservative ones, because they believe Israel is our ally. That's what we've been taught and told for a long time. Israel is our ally, right? Well, they're not our ally. Israel is a country that wants what's best for Israel and will do whatever it takes to get what's best for Israel. There are a lot of conservatives in America who are talking heads. Like, let's just talk about like Ben Shapiro, for example. He's like the biggest one, and he's Jewish, which let me say this, even though I hate the fact that I have to say this. I hate the fact that I have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't have anything against Jewish people. Why would I? And why would my political views suggest that I do have anything against Jewish people? I don't have anything against Jewish people. I have a problem with the fact that there is a really ridiculous regime that has basically duped and bullied America out of a lot. And what have they duped America out of and bullied them into? Well, we're giving Israel a lot of money all the time. And we have done a lot of things for Israel. We've gone to war with Iran. And who does that help? Does that help Israel? Dang right it helps Israel. So these are just examples here. But there's been a long-running game that says, or it's more of a delusion, or it's actually not a delusion. It's a delusion, but it's also a deception from Israel. And they have played on Christians, and they have taken advantage of Christians, and they have taken advantage of gullible people. And if you're offended by me calling you gullible, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend you, and I'm not trying to offend you. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings by calling you gullible if you're one of these people. But a lot of people think that the Jews are God's chosen people. And that because of what the Bible says, if I will bless those who bless you, Israel, and I will curse those who curse you. A lot of people believe that because of what the Bible says, that Israel is the good guys by default. Because we all know about the fighting in the Middle East. We've heard about it for a long time. There's always fighting in Gaza, or what, I don't know all the details there, but it's a lot of fighting between the Palestinians and the Israelis, basically, right? Over land, over this, over that, over this, over that. And there's a big question that says, well, which side is right? Well, that's a great question, but there's a lot of deception. And by default, I thought that the Israelis were right. Because I thought the Palestinians, the Muslims, were the ones who were crazy, and they were blowing themselves up, and they were killing a bunch of kids, and they were doing a bunch of wrong, and the Israelis were the ones who were actually trying to, say, no, you shouldn't do that, we're not going to let you do that, we're standing up to you. But that's not the case. The case is, Israel is corrupt. The United States is corrupt too, because of the corrupt leaders we have in government. And because there is, I'm not saying the United States as a whole is corrupt, but let's just say that in American government there's corruption. Can you really argue with that fact, that there's corruption in our government? I would say you really can't, because there really is corruption in our government. And there's corruption in Israel as well. And by and large, Netanyahu, their prime minister, I believe, and a lot of there's just a lot of stuff that's happening that's just not really fair, and it's not really right, and it's really frustrating, and a lot of people are deceived, and it's just really kind of sad. It is really kind of sad. Yeah, so anyway, that's really sad. And this stuff's happening. But here is the thing. Here's the elephant in the room. You're not allowed to talk about it. Because if you question anything Jewish related or Israeli related, you're called an anti-Semite. And that's why I say there's actually people, I'm not kidding you. I am not kidding you at all when I say this. I'm about to tell you a massive truth here. There are people who would watch this video I've made so far and conclude that I am an anti-Semite. That should lead you to recognize how ridiculous this actually is. This agenda that is coming out of Israel. I have nothing wrong with Israel. I have no problems with Israel. Well, let me just say, politically, I do. But I have no problem with Jewish people, but politically, I might. This has nothing to do with hate of people. This has nothing to do with hate of races. This has everything to do with politics and what is right and what is wrong. And so yeah. And it's just not fair. There's a lot of really messed up things going on. And there's a campaign going on right now. Like I said, Nick Fuentes has been blacklisted so badly. But the movement is still going strong because the truth will always be the truth. What's true will be, you know what I'm saying? There are certain unchangeable truths that are just true because they're true. And they will continue to be true. And so what's happening is Nick Fuentes is exposing a lot of it. But yeah, there's so much deception. There's so much deception. And it's so not true that just because you're a Republican or just because you're a Democrat that you are on the right side or that you have the truth or that you know what I mean, really know what's going on. Because there's so much deception. And deception conceals, and deception protects, And deception allows people to continue to do the things that they're doing that aren't right. So anyway, long story short, I have come to the realization of more about what's going on. Like, I've kind of been waiting for this in a way, because like I said, I wasn't really following politics that much, and like following like everything that Trump does or what's going on and everything like that. And to me, I was kind of like, yeah, Trump's doing great. I was like, this is what I thought. I was like, dude, Trump's doing great. Trump's amazing. I love Trump. He's so awesome. I'm so glad he won. So great. Everything's great. Everything's great. Everything's great. And yes, I know things are bad in the world, and like, there's problems and prices are rough. But I'm like, dude, the tariffs are working. Like, he's generating money for us. That's what I was thinking. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I was thinking. But I don't necessarily believe that's true anymore. And so, a really big movement that Nick Fuentes is a part of, which I also support 100%, is the America First movement. America first. We need to take care of us before we take care of anyone else. And what does that mean? Does that mean that we spend all the time becoming a rich, rich, rich country and like until every citizen lives in absolute luxury? No, it means we take care of ourselves in that we take care of the problems we have in this country. Which the debt is included in that. That's part of it. But there's so much more to it. And we just haven't been doing that. And we've been involved in foreign wars, which cost us money, which haven't been benefiting us, haven't been benefiting other people, benefiting Israel. I don't know all the details there, but I know that that's true. I know that Israel has basically used the United States as its buddy, and I know that that Israel has basically infiltrated the United States. Israeli politics has what can I say here? So in Israel they have this thing called Mossad, and Mossad, from what I understand, is like the CIA, but it's like the Jewish CIA. It's like the Israeli CIA. So they're like secret agents, and so they have secret agents in other countries doing what is best for them. They have secret agents in America. They have Mossad. There are Mossad agents in America. And so, that's just true. So anyway, let's talk about Ben Shapiro real quick. So Ben Shapiro has been an up-and-coming conservative intellect. He has made the Daily Wire a big show that's had lots of great people on it. He has Jordan Peterson. He had Candace Owens. A lot of big support there in the conservative area. Things have been changing, and the Conservative Party has been kind of falling apart in a way. And Nick Fuentes is a big part of that. And I'm super glad about that, because there's a lot of corruption. And it ain't right. And you're not allowed to talk about it, which is worse. And I'm just talking about the truth here. So a lot of people are getting shut down and called anti-Semites. Like this dude, what's his name? Something Baum. This dude. Some Israeli dude in America, and once again, I'm not hating, I'm just saying it's what he is. He was at some kind of conservative get-together, and he's talking about being proud of this and proud of that and everything. And his thing is he's suing Harvard University because they have not been fighting anti-Semitism. Now let me ask you something. Doesn't that sound like the left? This is supposed to be far right, by the way. This is supposed to be conservative, by the way. Doesn't that sound like the left? Isn't it the left that pushes the ACLU, who sues people for who cancels people for their lack of supporting certain agendas? I think that is the left. Anyway, so dude is homeboy is suing Harvard, and he's bragging about it, because he's saying that Harvard is anti-Semitic. Whoa, he's not even saying... Well, I guess he is. I guess he's saying that Harvard's anti-Semitic. But more than that, he's saying that they're not... The technical part is he's saying they're not fighting anti-Semitism enough. So he's suing them. Let me ask you a real question. Is there a problem with anti-Semitism in the world? Does the world have an anti-Semitism problem? Now let me try to answer that question. I don't think so. Does that mean that there are no anti-Semites in the world? No. But it is what I'm trying to point out is that this is the hate crime that they're trying to use to cancel people. They just accuse you of being, it's just like being called a racist. Once you're accused of being called a racist, if enough people accuse you of being called a racist, then people accept that you are a racist. It's called character assassination. That's what they do. And that's what's happening with this anti-Semite attack movement. And so, obviously, they say Nick Fuentes is the biggest anti-Semite. They say anyone who speaks against Israel is an anti-Semite. Well, that's not fair. How can you be an how can you hate someone just because you disagree? Well, we all know how you can hate someone just because you disagree with them. Anybody can hate anyone because they disagree with them. But just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean that you hate them. And when someone else has the power to say that you hate someone because you disagree with them, and then has the power to assassinate your character and cancel you or blacklist you because you disagree with them politically, that's a problem, obviously. We all know that. So anyway, I'm just trying to point out some things. There's a really big thing called AIPAC. And there are a lot of conservatives in America who get funding from Israel. And that's how Israel has a lot of control over our politics. They pay our politicians. They pay politicians to vote in their interests. It's happening. Ted Cruz, great example. Paid by Israel. He even admitted it. He admitted it to Tucker Carlson in an interview. He admitted it. He takes money from Israel. This is a problem. We're too blindly trusting our allies. That's what happens when you're not clear on things. That's what happens when you're not really careful. Your friends become your enemies. That's why you have to be careful. That's why you have to be careful about the people that you hang out with. It's not to say you should be paranoid, but it is to say you need to be careful. So, these are my thoughts for today.